slaps. Bitch, get my wig, get my wig, get my wig, get a girl, bitch, get my wig, get my wig, get my wig, get a girl, bitch, get my wig, get my wig, get my wig, get a girl, bitch, get my wig, get my wig, get my wig, get a girl,
Hey y'all, it is your favorite nerdy girl here, Nerdy Girl Reviews, and we're back with another recap for And Just Like That. Now streaming on Hbomax. We're going to be reviewing the last two episodes. Episode 7, Sex and the Window, and Episode 8, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. And if the song sounds familiar, this is by Todrick Hall. Wig, honey. Let's get into this wig, though. If you'd like to hear and see the full commentary, keep me clicked here on YouTube. If you're watching this on Instagram, click the link in my bio. If you're watching this on IG Stories, click on the link. It'll link you back to my YouTube channel. And if you'd like to catch my other recaps, you can catch me on SoulFreeThoughtForYourSoul.com. Stay tuned.
This shit ain't going nowhere. Bitch ain't got no hair. Fuck it, she don't care.
And we're back. We're playing another Todrick Hall Nails, Hair, Hips, Heels. Anyway, if my wardrobe and makeup look familiar, and I always try to do my best to mimic the characters, and no, it's not Carrie. I would love to see Carrie dressed like this, so she looks a little more on the younger side. And no shade, this is not ageism. I'm not trying to come for her. But I do think that in certain scenes they are kind of making her look like an old grandma. I am dressed similar to her friend Seema Patel, who is the real estate broker who, you know, in some sense has some inkling, some instances that mimic Samantha, but it's not Samantha. She doesn't have Samantha-isms, but she is just as elegant and just as powerful. Runs with the elite of New York City, and she has something similar to this, where she has the actress that plays her is Sarita Chaudhry. I'm sorry. I'm horrible with names, and I admit that. Nonetheless, so picking up where we left off with Sex in the Window, episode 7. So Carrie, obviously months have passed by, and she was able to finish her last book that she's now submitting to her publisher. And though the publisher was very moved by what she was reading off the pages, she even admits that there are tears on the pages, she realized that the book was kind of on a somber, and it makes sense. I mean, this is our Carrie character known for her Sex and the City, but this is how this character is dealing with death, with loss. So it wasn't going to be a chipper kind of book, but she didn't think that it was going to be marketable. So she encourages Carrie to be bold and go out there and put herself in the dating scene, if not just for a quick epilogue that she can put in like the first few pages or towards the end of the book as a hopeful, you know, don't give up, you know, or don't depress yourselves. There's always a possibility of life moving on. And at first though, she was kind of like, I don't think I want to do that. But when she's met with the possibility that perhaps Oprah, or Oprah was interested in maybe putting it in her magazine as must-get items, and they were trying to market it for the Christmas time, and it would be a great stocking stuffer. And of course, that always means you know what. So she's like, oh well, bump it. I'm not ready to date, but let's go out there in the dating scene. Now, we pick up in the restaurant with the girls, the gals, and then instead of having Samantha, we have Seema. And then Seema admits that she was waiting for Carrie to maybe let her in on the possibility of wanting to date, and she had already established her on a number of sites. Which, you know, not for nothing, that is a little on the nervy side, because what if somebody would have tried to reach out? You know, what if she would have been compatible with somebody and wasn't even aware of that person was genuinely serious in meeting her? So I thought that was a little much. You know, again, I get that the show's trying to make it as contemporary as possible, but you know, also we have to recognize boundaries, don't we? So even though I love the character of Seema, and I think a number of people are more online, other critics and reviewers have admitted that she is the more interesting character, you know, that was a little a little bold, to say the least. And so we see that Miranda's still going through this heartbreak of, you know, she tried to DM Che. Che is our non-binary character here, and even though everything seems like, well, perhaps it was just a one-time thing, one-time deal. They had the little romp in Carrie's kitchen after her hip surgery, even though it was the best tantalizing sex that Miranda has had up to this point in her life. You know, she didn't respond, and I think they don't make it clear, I don't think, if it's been 3 weeks or it's been 3 months, that she just kind of like left the DM go quiet. So she kind of ghosted her, which again, now it's like I've mentioned before, it's very kind of fuckboyish. But then she's non-binary, so would it be fuck person? I don't know. I'm not 100% clear on the pronouns. It's not that I'm trying to not be PC or understanding, but it's hard to kind of keep up when, since, you know, you've been in grammar school, they've always taught you that is this, and this. So, you know. Anyway, so she still looks very much like a, you know, teenager with a crush, you know, listening in on Che's podcast all the time and, you know, just asking Carrie. You know, she seems a little too overzealous. Now Charlotte and her husband decide that they still want to, you know, hang out with their other married couple friends. And we see, oops. So Charlotte and Harry meet up with Lisa and Herbert. And again, if Herbert looks familiar, you know, he's another Broadway baby. He was in Hamilton and in the Heights. I thought he did a phenomenal job in Hamilton. Christopher Jackson. I love the fact that we're bringing on Broadway onto the TV, but I want to always also say that there's so much range there. You know, I guess, I don't know. I think for the most part we have this general idea that when people are coming from Broadway, they're very kind of like, you know, hoity-toity. So when we see these actors and they kind of bring a punch of humor to things that we didn't know they were possible, it's like, I think he has great comedic timing. I believe in the Heights it was kind of like, it wasn't all musical. There were instances of punchlines. So Lisa, I believe, is an auctioneer, or she deals with auctions. And I think, yes, between her and Charlotte, they're trying to raise funds for the school where their children are at. And Christopher, who is our Herbert here, is a great MC. But his wife, unfortunately, even though he loves her dearly, is not doing a great job. And so there's these instances where they have like these funny moments that he's like, for the love of God, put the mic up to your mouth. You know, it's just she keeps dropping it because she's nervous, and she's not really that type of person that is so, she's not an extrovert. But it's funny because when they're on the court, they do a great job. They're a great team. And that's what Charlotte and Harry were under the impression, that they were just this perfect couple. When they're on the court, they're very competitive, and if anything, so yeah, on the court they seem like the ideal couple. And not that Charlotte and Harry don't have that same thing in common, but Charlotte is more on the competitive side. And perhaps, again, this is another teaching moment, you know, for us to realize that Well, here's the thing. She wasn't doing a great serve, and so here he was explaining it to her, and that, what we categorize today as mansplaining, because, heaven forbid she actually knows how to play. So maybe that was what started the issue of, what happens soon after. So she takes his advice, she does what he instructs, is able to get the point, but she pushed Harry to the ground. Not on purpose, but yeah, a little on the violent side. He was shocked, and she did apologize soon after, but he was taken aback that she didn't apologize immediately. So it's a teaching moment where it comes to, like, why is it necessary for, even if it is your doting, loving husband, you feel the need that, you need to further explain, because she just can't get it. And she's a very competitive person. I think throughout the series we remember, or I remember, that she's always has been that way for certain things. For certain things, she's a little on the OCD side, and you just gotta let her be. I think right when she was like, when she was a teenager, I think she used to ride horses, right? So, and she's a runner. So anyway, she's a very athletic person that she didn't feel that she needed that extra instruction, like now Harry was behaving like more of her father. And he's like, the entire episode, it's almost like he's ragging on her to apologize, but all you need to do is say sorry. She didn't feel like saying sorry. Get over it, But there's that. They're not so bothersome. But then they have a big blow up in the street, and the other couple sees them, and between Lisa and Herbert, and then they kind of stare at them like, oh, and then she's like, great, now we're that couple. So fast forward to the auction, and Lisa is begging Herbert to stay, because I don't know exactly what he dedicates himself. I think he's a doctor, and he lent his time so he could do the auction, but she knows she's terrible. So she's like, why can't you just do this for me? And now they have a blow up, and now they're in front of Harry and Charlotte, and then they realize, like, oh, now they're going to think we're that couple. So again, same insecurities are mimicked here. Is it super interesting? Is it moving the story along? It just depends if you genuinely like what you're seeing, but not a lot of people will agree. And I'm on that spectrum, like on that side, like it's haha, but not like oh boy, what are we gonna get into now, And yes, and her non-binary daughter now wants to go by Rock, and which she wasn't aware of, and that situation, I think, may be contributing to her stress as well, and that's probably why she's having these little instances of lashing out. She refuses to apologize, especially for something that she knows is a competitive sport like tennis, Charlotte to Harry, and she says a cute little thing like, sorry, not sorry, like Demi Lovato. And I know, she's being influenced by her kids. Does it feel a little forced, pushed into the script? I think so, honestly. But, I don't know. Is it really unrelatable? A lot of parents do that to relate to their kids. TikTok and, influencers and contemporary artists and singers, you end up listening to it so much that it kind of does become a part of your daily speech. So now moving forward, they're at this auction. Oh, that's right. We totally forgot about Carrie. So Carrie goes back into the dating pool and does decide to date one particular guy. Now the guy, for instance, at first, honestly, he looked a little bit like Burger. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go through the Sex and the City series, and then you'll know what we're talking about. But he had a little, like, not that he was his doppelganger, but he has similarities with Burger. Now you're almost thinking like, oh my god, what if, like, that would have been interesting, an interesting twist. But it wasn't Burger, it was another person who was a widower like her. And he did look good looking. At first it was a little on the tense side. And it is reminiscent of the Golden Girls when Sophia meets with that older gentleman, and they happen to be talking about their former spouses. But then they douse themselves, maybe to break the ice, with alcohol. And then they end up messing up the date at the end by throwing up. I think he threw up, and then she got sick based on his throw up, and so she threw up. herself. So horrible date, and then they see each other at the auction. She's like, oh my god, and she entrusts Anthony, played by Mario Cantone, like, please just like, look, I think that guy's the guy that I went on that blind date with, just make sure he's out of here. But then she forgets that she's part of the auction and that she's auctioning a lunch date, you know, with herself. And then for some reason Herbert, which this is like the comedic portion of the show, he makes comments like, oh, win a date with sex writer. And she's like, what? What is that? So, you know, little yucks are in there, outdated, you know, like, I feel like, I don't know. Is this show on a mission to make these people look like they're 80? I really feel like they are. And that's the unfortunate part here, because this really genuinely could have been fun. Much more fun than where they're dragging it. And like I've mentioned before, like my theory, I think it could be the reason why so many people are so upset with it is because we always had the comedic banter and innuendos of Samantha Jones. And this only proves that she is an important element. Like, I can't even picture the Golden Girls without all four ladies. You know, I don't know if it really would have made a difference if now Kim Cattrall would have joined them because I don't know, the storylines have not been that great. But I think her input would have made the show a little bit more on the fun side. So we have that, and then we have Miranda, you know, still being, you know, in this schoolgirl crush for Che, and then. And not for nothing. Side note, why didn't Carrie's character let Miranda know? You know, she must have known about the DM, and she knew she was showing up to this auction, so why wouldn't she tell her, like, hey, heads up, you know, I don't know if you want to come. She was like, huh? She was coming? She was like, you know, thrown for a loop. And she tries to wave at her from a distance, but she didn't really say much to her, so she feels crushed. She orders herself a car, and on her way out, you know, of course, Che, being the person they are, and they're like, oh, hey, you know, what's up? She runs after her like, you know, what, you couldn't say hello? And they have this banter, and then they realize that, you know, why Miranda was acting funny, that she felt she felt like disrespected, like here she is DMing her, and she got zilch back. And she's like, I don't even check my DMs, you know. I'm a celebrity, and so many people DM me, and all these, you know, excuses and whatnot. But somehow she buys it, and they're able to have a sexy romp afterwards. So, I mean, I'm okay with this. I'm okay that her character is, you know, in this point in her life, or she's in this self-discovery, but the way she's kind of handling it, especially when it's regarding her husband Steve, played by David Eldenberg, I think. Look, this is going on and going around on YouTube, and I kind of agree. The way that she's kind of playing, Miranda's playing Steve for this season, is on the dirty side. So a lot of people already saying hashtag justice for Steve, because even though Steve did cheat on Miranda, but you have to kind of question, is she doing this because maybe there was some deep-seated resentment towards him and she's lashing out now, or has she always been this way before Steve cheated on her? She was always hot and cold with him. She had always been kind of hot and cold with him. Like, you know, at first she just wanted to treat him like, you know, random hookup. Then she realizes that he was like genuinely interested in her. Somehow she gets back with him. Then it gets too tough. She starts dating another lawyer, and then she wants back. So she has been doing this back and forth charade with him for a while. And even in the movies, right? Like, she was genuinely hurt. I think it was Sex and the City, the first movie. And they had that rupture of him being unfaithful. And then Samantha even points out, like, what's going on? And she noticed something about hair growth. And she's like, oh, so now you're blaming me? You know, like, it's my fault he was unfaithful. A number of things that, you know, need to be dissected, because I think she's been a harsher critic when it comes to Steve, but she doesn't apply the same rules to Che, because Che has been even more uh, ambiguous when it comes to anything exchanged here. We didn't even know that supposedly Che had deep feelings for her, because it's been more of a physical thing. Because soon after this episode, and we go into episode 8, they've been hooking up for almost every day for 3 weeks straight. So, but I don't know, maybe because of stature and, you know, perhaps how much she makes as a comedian. And yeah, you know, I'm going to agree with a number of people. The comedy is not there. Like, you know, no shade to the actress Sarah Ramirez who plays Che Diaz, but I don't know. I think if it's like the jokes that they're writing for her, they just don't seem to be landing. You know, she had that one thing they called a comedy concert, which a lot of people even question, but and then now she's doing like this very pro LGBTQ rally, and she notices that, you know, she kind of has her girl there, Miranda, cheering her on, and then the wig too, which is funny that I played that song "Wig" at the beginning, because that has been the run-on joke since this new show premiered on Hbomax, because why couldn't they just have Cynthia Nixon rock her own hair? Perhaps maybe even like if she was gonna go gray, maybe put some highlights of gray in her hair that would just like soon wash out. Why wear this hideous wig? And a lot of people have even compared it to Party City wig. Which, not for nothing, I've seen a lot of no shade Party City, but Party City would be having some crappy ass wigs, and you're kind of like, oh god, I hope people aren't really buying these and wearing them, because aside from Halloween, because it would make no sense. They're really, I don't know. And so when she's serious with Steve and she's with the girls, it's like this like almost Karen-esque typical,